What is going on, all of you amazing gamers out there in the world? I am Mega Amster. Thank you for checking out this YouTube video. Whether you are a new or returning viewer, I appreciate you spending your time here. Thanks for watching this, and this is going to be a fun one because I know plenty of people have made this video before, but usually in the past, right? So the Switch has been out for 7 years as of this video, over 7 years as of this video, and many of the previous generation games, both on the console being the Wii U and the handheld being the 3DS from the previous generation, have been brought over. A lot of them have been brought over. Some of them got sequels, some of them got remakes, essentially, or more so remasters along those lines on the Switch, but there are still a few on both systems that I wanted to kind of highlight here. Originally, this was just going to be Wii U video ideas here, but I also figured, you know what, might as well throw some 3DS ones in as well. So this could also continue into the next Switch successor, assuming it is a Switch. I would still like to see these games on the next system, but essentially just 5 games off of both the Wii U and the 3DS I would like to see off of those systems into the current generation. So we're going to do 5 for both systems. I'm going to start with the Wii U ones and then get into the 3DS ones. So with that, just so this video doesn't take super long, we're going to go rapid fire. Now, number 5 is an interesting one. There was a recent game announcement as of this recording that kind of covers similar vibes. I'll be honest, I was kind of stretching a little bit for Wii U games for some of this, because most of them really are on the Switch, but there are a few still left behind. And this one would be an interesting one. It kind of harkens back to some of the older games and kind of gives them a new breath of fresh air. And that, at number 5, is NES Remix. Now, I've never played this one, but I hear really good things about it. It's a really fun way to kind of introduce challenges into these old school games. They might have had a Super Nintendo remix. Let me know in the comments below if they ever did. I'm not sure if they did. I know we just got the announcement for the Nintendo World Championships game coming back, which kind of fills a similar role to this. I had literally planned out this video, just hadn't recorded it before they announced that game, so I was like, ah, crap. Well, oh well, it's what it is. This video is probably going to age poorly with the June 2024 Direct coming up anyways, but this one in particular, I don't know, it just seems really interesting to me. Like, they could still do this as like a eShop release or something and have it via NSO. Like, there are ways to make this game stand out from Nintendo World Championship in a way that I think would be interesting, and maybe even bring them to other systems too. But I feel like it's a really clever way, like, for example, playing as Link and Donkey Kong, or just trying to achieve different challenges throughout these NES games. At least for me, it breathes some fresh air into these old school games that maybe aren't as fun to play in today's modern day and age, but adding new goals to do, like, that's kind of cool. It's a cool idea. Like I said, I know they kind of already are doing it with Nintendo World Championship, but it would still be cool to introduce a new package like this to kind of do a similar idea. So with that, that is number 5 on the list of Wii U games. Now, number 4 is, this one is one that I have played. I actually streamed on this channel a couple of years ago for any of you who, year and a half, for any of you who were watching at this time. Not really sequel, but the next iteration of the series was released on Switch, but this one, honestly, I heard is better than the Switch version, which is interesting considering Wii U to Switch games, usually the Switch version's better, but I've heard really good things about this. Well, I've heard this one's better than the one on Switch. Both are good from what I hear, but this one in particular I think would be great if it was brought onto the Switch. And that, at number 4, is Yoshi's Woolly World. Now, this one, I played through this. It was a charming little 2.5D platformer with Yoshi. This is one of the only Yoshi games I've played, but the yarn aesthetic still looks really good. And of course, they had that whole yarn series of amiibo. So really fun game. Now, I hear it's just not as good. Like, Crafted World on Switch is like pretty much like a lesser version of this game. So I think there is still a spot for this game to be re-released, especially because, like, you know, this is the yarn aesthetic. The Crafted World has like the more hand paper craft aesthetic, which I think is the place for both. Just because I feel like this could get re-released on there. I know, yeah, this was re-released on 3DS if I remember correctly, but it would still, I don't know, it would be nice to see it on the Switch as well, just because I've heard a lot of fans tend to prefer this one to the Switch version. And I don't know, there's some really cool stuff you can do with amiibo in this one. I mean, I don't know if Crafted World did. Let me know in the comments below if it did. But this one's fun. You know, it's a fun little 2.5D platformer with collectibles to get, quite a bit of content in there too. And just, like, really, the soundtrack I've heard is better, so there are some things that are better about this version and are worth remembering and worth bringing forward into the current generation. So that's why this one, Yoshi's Woolly World, is at number 4 here. Now, number 3, this is one I have not played, but it's actually quite in a similar vein to Woolly World. The issue with this one is that it is so dependent on the Wii U hardware. I would love to see them rework it. They've done that with games before. I would love to see them rework it here. I think there would be a way to do it on the Switch, But it really was integral to that dual screen setup, but a fan favorite series of mine and many other Nintendo fans. And that, at number 3, is Kirby and the Rainbow Curse. Now, I don't know how they would get this one to work fully. I think it would take a lot of kind of tweaking to get it to work, right? Because you have the main screen on the TV, and you're playing the game on the touch screen to, being a sequel to Canvas Curse, draw paths to guide Kirby in his ball form along and take out different obstacles and stuff. I've never played this one on Wii U. I've very much considered getting a secondhand copy at some point, but I'm kind of holding out hope in case they bring it onto Switch. I don't know how they would do it. They can make it a touchscreen only game. My other thing is, like, I know people have been tossing around the idea, if the Switch successor does end up having like dual screen capabilities to be able to mock like DS games and emulate DS games, for example, then maybe that would allow them, along with other games like Star Fox Zero, which I'll admit is not on this list. I thought about it, but we could have done honorable mentions, but I did not do honorable mentions for the list. But games like that, there are plenty of those games that were, and on 3DS as well, that were implemented on the dual screen capabilities being present, right? With the Switch, you don't have that. So maybe the successor will, and that could give them a better reason. I don't know, who's to say, but it seems like a really fun game. I love the visual aesthetic of it. It seems super charming. I've heard it's not like an amazing game, but I've heard great little charming things about it, and it would be really cool to be able to play that on a modern system, considering at this point it's like a lost Kirby game, right? Being on the previous generation, hard to get now, especially with the Wii U eShop being discontinued. So that is number 3 on the list here of Wii U games. Now, number 2, we're almost at the top of the Wii U games. These are no-brainers. These are requested every time we get a Nintendo Direct. Now, I say these because I kind of paired these together. It just made more sense. But every time we get a Nintendo Direct, they're like, oh, where are these? Because these have been rumored for years. And while these aren't brand new games to the system, it just, like, why not have the definitive version of these games on modern platforms, right? Of course, at number 2, I am talking about both Wind Waker and Twilight Princess HD. Now, I forgot to show these off. I got the physical copy of Woolly World, and I've got these 2 games as well. These are the first times I played these games, both on Wii U, and I really enjoyed both of them. Wind Waker was really fun. I hear they clean up a lot of stuff with, like, adding the Swift Sail, reducing the Triforce Peace quests. And Twilight Princess, I know they clean up some stuff with, like, for example, like the Tears of Light, I believe, is made easier in the HD version. I mean, having these games playable at all on the current Switch or the next Switch would be great. This would be a great remaster re-release to kind of fill in the gap of maybe some lesser first-party releases that we're already seeing from Nintendo this year, considering most of their big studios are moving on to the Switch successor. So I think these are no-brainers. I think these are inevitable, considering these are the definitive versions of these games, and both games are great. I think I like Twilight Princess a little more, but I love the look. I love the aesthetic of Wind Waker. Definitely would look. Imagine that on like a Switch OLED screen. That'd be amazing. Both these games really deserve another shot on modern platforms, considering we have Skyward Sword HD on the Switch currently. Bring these up as well and have them be compatible there. That would be great. Both really good Zelda games. I mean, none of the 3D Zelda games are bad in my opinion. So these are all great ones, and be great for people to be able to play this on Switch in handheld form too. I imagine, especially like I said, Wind Waker in particular would look really good in handheld. But that is going to do it for number 2 on the Wii U list. Now, top of the Wii U list, this is it a contentious game in the series? I don't know. It's a side game in the series, and all 3 of the mainline entries are currently on the Switch. Now, this is also a pretty heavily requested one, considering this is almost like a lost game in the series. Now, like I said, it's a bit of a side game, but it has some interesting implications in terms of just like the overall lore for the series. And as someone who is just very recently starting to get into the series, I'd like to see this show up as well. I do own this one on Wii U, so I can play it there, but for people who haven't experienced it yet, there were a lot of new fans of the series coming onto the Switch, and that at number 1 of the Wii U list is Xenoblade Chronicles X. Now, I've put about maybe only like 5-10 hours at launch. I really haven't played this game much at all. And I know it's hit or miss with the Xenoblade community. It seems to be almost more like an MMO like style, like always online game, almost like a Phantasy Star Online setup they go for compared to the other entries in the series, which are a lot more linear and story driven. So it is a weird little anomaly of a game in the midst of the Xenoblade series, but it's honestly a really cool aesthetically game. I really like the idea of flying around in the big old mechs. And I mean, yeah, it's like this lost game in the series that I believe is referenced maybe a little, well, through the blades and stuff. I think they have in Xenoblade 2, but it's very much like, you know, this story that I feel like a lot of fans probably haven't experienced, considering it was released on Wii U. And while it was a very impressive Wii U game, like bringing this, cleaning it up, putting it on the Switch, I think would be really fun. And if you add those online components, I mean, the Switch Online, regardless of what we say now, it is still much better than the Wii U Online. So to have that brought back onto modern platforms, I think would be great. And this would be a great handheld game, I imagine, too, you know? So make it look better, make it run better, introduce it to a brand new community of players who will get into it, and I think that could be a lot of fun. So with that, that is the Wii U list. Now, like I said, I decided to go with the 3DS as well because I was like, well, there's a bunch of 3DS games too. There's a lot of 3DS games. The 3DS had a huge library of games, and many of them are not on the Switch. So I wanted to jump into these really quick. So number 5 on the Wii U list is not an original game. Well, I don't know, it kind of is. It's a reinterpretation of a very old game from a studio who has made a Nintendo game on the Switch, and this was kind of their testing grounds for the series, to test it out, see what Nintendo thought. They were successful enough to make an official sequel on the Switch, and I really enjoy this one, and I think a lot of fans probably haven't checked it out, and I think it's the definitive version of this game. And that, at number 5 here, is Metroid: Samus Returns, being the remake of Metroid 2 by Mercury Steam that was released on the 3DS in 2017. Shadow dropped out of nowhere. This is easily, for me, the definitive version of Metroid 2. Metroid 2 is a little hard to go back to. This game introduces the counter system that we see in Dread, the 360-degree aiming, I believe. Maybe that was in Fusion or Zero Mission. Metroid fans, let me know in the comments below. But really good version, introduces more lore to like the Chozo and so much other stuff around the overall arcing Metroid lore. Really fun game. It's pretty brutal. It's pretty tough. I mean, so is Dread. But I think this would be great to bring up to the Switch, kind of clean it up a little bit. Especially to get more people hyped even more about 2D Metroid. You know, this is one that really could introduce even more people to Metroid, you know? And I like the premise of this game where you're hunting down all the different Metroids. It does get a little tedious, I will say. Like, I do think Dread is the better game. But just to have it playable on modern system, considering every other 2D Metroid is now playable. Actually, Zero Mission's... Well, is Zero Mission on Switch Online? I'll have to double check that, but I think it was data mined for it. Anyways, it is. We have almost every single 2D Metroid game on the Switch. This is one of the ones that's remaining. So it would be great to get this on the Switch and be able to play it. And like I said, it's like the precursor to Dread almost. So still a really good game, the definitive version of Metroid 2. So for new fans who have never checked out this game, definitely would be good to have it there. So that is number 5 on the 3DS list. Now, number 4, these games, another pair of games, are very near and dear to my heart. They are not popular in any way, shape, or form. And I know a third one of these games has been teased. I've talked about these games in the channel before. I'm a sucker for crossover games, and let's just get them. Let's get them. I would love to have this to be able to play in handheld mode on the Switch, and if they do well enough, get a sequel. So with that, number 4 on this list is Project Cross Zone 1 and 2. Man, these are popcorn games for me. They're not like amazing games, but they are such popcorn games for me. Being kind of a clash of like a strategy RPG as well as some kind of fighting game DNA in there. It's very interesting. Of course, crossover of Sega, Capcom, Bandai Namco, and in the case of the second game, you get some Nintendo characters as well from Fire Emblem and Xenoblade Chronicles, so which is really cool to see. Definitely such a guilty pleasure game. I really want a third one. Listen, I just want Bayonetta and Dante to interact. That's all I want. It'd be great. I would love if that happened. It would just, they're honestly really fun games, and having this on an OLED screen, because the pixel art in this game is beautiful. Would love to see this on the Switch. It is very fan servicey, as you can probably tell by the trailer here, but it's honestly a fun game. Gets a little tedious and repetitive sometimes with the gameplay, but it's a flashy, fun, like I said, popcorn crossover game that I think, especially considering that most of games in these series are currently on the Switch, unlike the 3DS and Wii U, I think it would do even better. You know, I think there was a good shot for Project Cross Zone to get more interest on the Switch. So it'd be really cool to see. Maybe do like a collection of both games on the Switch, see how that does, and if it does well enough, make a third one, and I would be there day one to buy a third game, like immediately. But that is number 4 on the 3DS list. Now, number 3 is another entry in a series that already has most of its entries on the Switch. This one is interesting to me. Like, I'm curious how this isn't already on the Switch, And part of me's wondering if they're waiting for the GameCube NSO to add this, but it did get a remake on 3DS that honestly, I mean, I hear mixed things about which version's better, but I mean, this is ideally the definitive version, so re-release it on Switch somehow, Nintendo. This would make a lot of sense. But number 3 on this list is the original Luigi's Mansion, which did have a remake on 3DS, where literally Luigi's Mansion 2 as of this video is imminent. It's going to drop very, very soon. So we should find out about that very soon. But the original's still not playable. Like I said, maybe they're going to add GameCube NSO and they're going to wait to put Luigi's Mansion on there. Like, if they do GameCube for NSO, Luigi's Mansion is going to be one of the first games, no doubt, to launch on that thing. But honestly, having the 3DS version I think would be really good too, considering I believe it's in the same engine as Luigi's Mansion 2, so they could do the same thing for this game that they're doing for Luigi's Mansion 2 on Switch. That would be great to see. Just having all the Luigi's Mansion games playable, because, I mean, this is still, in many fans' regard, like the best one of the trilogy, although 3 is also really good, but this seems to be a nostalgic fan favorite. So to have this original classic game on the Switch, just complete the trilogy on the Switch, would be great, you know, where you get introduced to EGAD and King Boo and all these characters, and Luigi goes with his vacuum for the first time. So this would be great to have on there, and I would definitely be interested in picking it up if they were to re-release it, whether it's the GameCube version or the 3DS remake. So that is number 3 on the list here for 3DS games. Now, number 2, these two are tough, the top 2, but this one I almost put as number 1. This is, of course, a long-running Nintendo franchise that has plenty of games on the Switch, but at the same time, they are missing a key component of the series' roots in terms of a certain style of games that I think this game captures really, really well, and honestly, it's one of my favorite in the series. And that, at number 2, is Link Between Worlds. Now, I love this game. This, honestly, I think is my favorite top-down 2D Zelda. I know I'm currently playing through Minish Cap, still have to get through some of that, but I really love what they did here. I like this more than A Link to the Past, which is its original inspiration, right? It's kind of a remake of Link to the Past, but also introduces brand new mechanics. Like, the painting mechanic is huge. And that's brand new, the renting of items and before dungeons and stuff like that. There's some really cool quality of life stuff they do with this game. And like I said, to have another top-down 2D Zelda, like, I would love a new game, but even if it's just bringing this game to the Switch, this would look amazing on the Switch. Imagine, like, the Link's Awakening remake engine with this game. Like, that would look so good, and it would play so well. This game is still great to this day. I mean, it's barely over 10 years old, but it's such a great game. Very unique, honestly, when you consider it's supposed to be originally a remake of Link to the Past. So they do some really cool stuff with it. I would like to see this brought to Switch. Either this or a new top-down 2D Zelda. Like, I would gladly take this if it means any 2D Zelda gets put on the Switch, the top-down 2D Zelda. Absolutely would love that, because it's very creative, it's very fun, there's a lot of stuff. Another great game, another game that would look great on the Switch OLED screen for sure. So definitely check this one out if you haven't already, but I mean, if you don't have a 3DS, which I don't blame you, because it's impossible to get one officially now, or even on the eShop, then yeah, Nintendo, re-release this game. Expose people who play the Link's Awakening remake to this game, because it's a great top-down 2D Zelda that I think more fans should experience. So that is number 2 on this list. Now, number 1, like I said, I went back and forth between Link Between Worlds and this one, but this is one that I have talked about many times before, coming over from the 3DS to the Switch, that unfortunately is less of a game because it was originally designed for the 3DS, and on the Switch, it could be fully realized and just made so much more better. Because I think the one thing holding this game back is the controls on the 3DS. Put it on the Switch, and I think you got a recipe for success. And that at number 1, honestly, out of the Wii U and 3DS games, this is top of the list for both of those for me, is, yes, you guessed it, Kid Icarus Uprising, man. This game, people love this game, and I get that. I wasn't a huge fan of it, mainly because of those controls. I got so many hand cramps trying to play this thing. And to be able to essentially get rid of the stylus controls for shooting. My issue is the moving and shooting. You move with the thumbstick and then stylus controls to tap the screen to fire. That messed up my hands so much. So put this on the Switch where you have the twin sticks. Could probably fix most things. I don't even know how hard it would be. I mean, people have called for this one for a lot. Like, give this game another shot. Give Kid Icarus Uprising another shot. You know, I doubt they're going to make a new Kid Icarus game anytime soon. Maybe Sakurai could convince him otherwise if he's still making games. I know he's kind of iffy on that, but bring this game onto the Switch, modernize the visuals. It has a really good story. The gameplay itself is really compelling, like the ground versus air combat. And the characters are really funny. The dialogue's great. I love just the characters here. And like, there's a lot of side content. There's a whole online mode if they wanted to promote that on the Switch. There's a lot they could do. There was a lot they could do with this game just by bringing it to the Switch and fixing those controls. Modernizing those controls like they did to Skyward Sword HD, do it for this. That would be a recipe for success, and I mean, it probably wouldn't be like a huge crazy seller, but I think it could do pretty well. Especially if you promote it well enough, I think it could do decently enough, you know? Pit is more popular than ever because of Smash Brothers. Bring it on. It's time. Make this game very much playable, and I would love that. With that, though, that is going to do it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you did, let me know your thoughts in the comments below on these 5 Wii U and 5 3DS games. If you agree with my thoughts or not, let me know if you have any of your picks that weren't on this list. And hey, otherwise, I appreciate you all watching this video. I will catch you all on the next video or live stream. Until then, take care. This is going to age horribly with the June 2024 Direct. I'm already feeling it. If any of them, I hope it's Kid Icarus, but we will see. Until then, everybody, take care. Keep playing.